Good afternoon, I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to Camnet TV Media News. The headlines. President HH cautions traditional leaders against selling land to foreigners. Chief CHITIMUKULU calls for FISP abolishment. Join me with the media news in detail after this commercial.
Would you like to win some cool cash? Say no more. Stand a chance to win your share of 1 million kwacha. Simply make a transaction from your Zambia mobile money account and you could be one of weekly winners of up to 10,000 kwacha. Be empowered with Zambia mobile money. Dial *344# to activate your account. This promotion runs from 28th July to 31st October 2021. Zambia, your digital lifestyle partner.
And now the media news in detail. A 16-year-old mother in Central Province in Chibombo district has been retrieved from a 2-year marriage by the Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights organization. The juvenile, who has a 1-year 3 months child, is currently 7 months pregnant, is said to have been forced into marriage by her 31-year-old elder brother after she fell pregnant. And according to the victim's brother, he had demanded 2,500 kwacha from the 22-year-old man who impregnated his sister, but only 500 kwacha has been paid. Meanwhile, Justice and Human Rights Director Richard Nkua says the organization has implemented a project in rural areas whose aim is to address the high incidences of early and forced marriages owing to negative traditional beliefs that hinder girls to seek health, education and gender equality.
A 16-year-old girl of Chibombo district in Central Province was recently forced into marriage by her elder brother, 31, after she fell pregnant in 2019. She has a 1-year child and is currently 7 months pregnant. The girl was married to a 22-year-old man but was since chased from her marriage after a marital dispute. This estrangement was caused by the girl's complaint about the lack of financial support from her husband. Angry at her sister's marital problem, the 31-year-old brother sought remedies by reporting the brother-in-law to Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights, demanding to know why the man had chased his sister. The brother had also further requested the brother-in-law to pay him 1,500 kwacha balance payment for damages.
Nilipano na kudandaula kuchikwati cha sister wangu. Aba bantu wanankala pamozi mu 2019 yenze damage. Wana personal damage mu 2019 na kwata baperekera. Tibaperekere sibanakanya wanavomera mulandu. Wanamba kuvutana so chape pangono paka mu 2021. Vuta minenzo vuta nyakuti basista wanga siwenze kuona drama. Baka tubapempeko support ili yonse. Amuna siniziba ningana miboza kapena benzi bapodolera kangezo chitabwanje. Batimene basi. Paka yakozinga manje pa last manje mkudandaula maningi basista wanga. Paka bamuna bafika mtime yobapisha. Choka pano pa nyumba.
After the young girl fell pregnant the first time, the man was charged 2,500 kwacha but only paid a patri of 500 kwacha.
Apo office nifuna kuti imitandizireko pankani yakuti 1 aba nisiwe kuti nanga ntante wanapishanilana mu nyumba yao. 2 futi batilipire na wapasa mulandu wa 2.5 manalipira kwa 500.
However, upon the case reaching the attention of Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights, a non-government organization, it decided to retrieve the girl from the forced marriage. The organization, which has implemented a project in the rural areas whose aim is to address the high incidence of early and forced marriages owing to negative traditional beliefs that hinders girls to seek education and gender equality, says it will continue with its responsibility of seeing that young girls are removed from early marriages.
We have got a project that is running in Chibombo, that is the fight against early marriages. And from this fight, that's where we have managed to retrieve 5 girl children. And the other one, she was forced to, the one at the end right now, she was forced to enter in that marriage by the brothers. And we have managed to retrieve the girl. And this time around, the position of the organization is that we need to send the girl child back to school. She's pregnant of 7 months, and also she has got a child of 1 year 3. So we are totally against the issue of forcing children to enter into marriages at the tender age.
Meanwhile, the young girl has since been cancelled and is willing to go back to school. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
President Hakainde Higa has cautioned traditional leaders who are fond of selling land to foreigners to stop. Speaking when he met His Royal Highness, Chief Liteta of the Lenja-speaking people in Central Province, the head of state said traditional leaders across the country must avoid selling land to foreigners at the expense of Zambians. Meanwhile, President Hakainde Higa has directed for the distribution of the farming inputs across the country to commence today, the 18th of October 2021. Speaking when he met His Royal Highness Chief Liteta of the Lenja-speaking people in Central Province, the head of state said he understood the challenges faced in the agriculture sector. He says the challenges in the sector were mainly induced by the previous regime's habits of awarding fertilizer contracts to suppliers for 2 years without the due diligence. He has, however, assured citizens that the government is on track and will ensure the agriculture sector is revamped. Some civil society organizations have called for collaborative efforts in responding to mental health issues in the country. In a bid to raise awareness on mental health, civil society organizations have embarked on 2 weeks of activism. Children in Need Executive Director Beston Banda says healthy minds are key towards having a healthy and productive nation.
Research has shown that rising cases of COVID-19 have directly impacted on the cases of mental health disorders. The numbers being given by the World Health Organization put figures at 1 out of every 4 people across the world as suffering from mental health issues today. It is against this background that some civil society organizations in partnership with the government have embarked on a 2-week mental health awareness activism. Children in Need Executive Director Beston Banda calls for action to safeguard the well-being of children.
There is very little allocation of funding towards issues of mental health. And also, like we said also, there are very few places which, let me just say, limited infrastructure when we're talking about where services can be offered. Yeah. If young people have issues, where do they go? And if it's in Lusaka, we only have the well-known facility there, and there's issues of stigmatization. So young people don't want to go to the facility for elderly people. So we have a big problem. Yeah, and we are hoping that we hear a lot of statements coming from government, from other stakeholders as well on this issue.
They hope the campaign will help realize hometown solutions to ending stigma and discrimination against mental health patients.
Then when we talk about the 14 days of activism, we should also think about protection. I think the aspect of inclusion, when we talk about children, you find that children are actually among a vulnerable population. But within this set of children, we have children who have different conditions who are actually more vulnerable to mental health elements. And these are the special needs, the children with disabilities. So all these things, I think they come into play when we talk about mental health. How
the issue with mental health that is not addressed, they don't perform to the fullness of their abilities. So if I have a mental health issue, as much as I have potential to do the best for the country, I can't because I haven't addressed this issue. So I think we also want to commit as a foundation to ensure that our facilitators and trainers do come through to the 14 days of activism and ensure that whatever we learn in these 14 days, we do go back to our communities on the ground level and make sure that our girls do the best.
Having an educated public is going to create a platform where mental health issues won't go unnoticed. So I think as a mental health officer and a person really in the mental health field, to see maybe stakeholders and partners and organizations coming together to start raising a flag in terms of mental health gives that confidence that a country as like Zambia or our communities are earmarked to get the facts and also to get information which they can use to make a decision on.
During the campaign, counseling services to children and other people affected by mental health will be provided. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
Paramount Chief Chittimukulu of the Bemba-speaking people has urged the new government to abolish the Farmers Input Support Program, FISP, and find another way of helping the vulnerable people in the country. Chief Chittimukulu says from the time the program was introduced, it has not helped the Zambian people. He says FISP is not beneficial to the Zambian people, stating that those that are on the program have remained on the same position from the time they were registered on the program. Chief Chittimukulu disclosed that FISP has brought laziness to Zambians to expect free things, causing them to become irresponsible.
So my views are quite different. Me, I don't support FISP because you can't run FISP for 50 days. People have got to be independent. So I don't know what is happening with the FISP, but personally I don't support it. Because it's a disease which has brought a lot of problems in. People don't think beyond the physical. So people need to be independent. FISP was supposed to be for 10 years. And then people become independent. But because of political situation where you're going to persuade and so forth. So it has continued for 50 years. And it's not very much beneficial.
In other news, the United Mine Workers Union of Zambia has called on the Konkola Copper Mines management to take the workers' interest at heart as they embark on the systematic paying off of workers' benefits. In an interview with Camnet News, Union President Wisdom Ngwira has stressed that the KCM pension scheme is clear as shared to all unions by the company, hence the need to work in harmony without any disturbances. Mr. Ngwira adds that the plan was to strengthen the payment system to allow the sponsor time to pool sufficient resources in order to meet the payment schedule. Mr. Ngwira has called on all workers at KCM to exercise patience and implore KCM to quickly pay off pension benefits to avoid unnecessary tension.
The plan was to start the payment systematically to allow the sponsor time to pool sufficient resources in order to meet the payment schedule. The reality on the ground is that KCM pension scheme, being a segregated fund, has without financial pitfalls which need the support from all of us to meet the aspirations and demand of the workers. We are aware of some individuals, elements, who have manipulated the truth about pension matters at KCM so that they can sponsor anarchy and destabilize the operations at KCM. Please, let us show leadership and maturity in handling pension matters at KCM. We urge all workers at KCM to become and implore KCM management to quickly pay off pension benefits to the workers in order to avoid unnecessary tension.
Well, that news item brings us to the end of Camnet TV Media News, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. President HH cautions traditional leaders against selling land to foreigners. Chief Chittimukulu calls for FISP abolishment. Thank you for joining me. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Remember to always wear your mask, avoid crowded places, wash your hands for at least 20 seconds, or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Happy National Day of Prayer and Fasting. Good afternoon.